Tom, thanks again for joining me here at Pro Food Tech. We talked a little bit about a taste of the processing trends across the world, a white paper you guys did in a previous episode. And now let's talk about another white paper you guys have produced at PMMI. It's about robot opportunities in the industry. So give me the 40,000 foot view on that white paper. What are some of the high level findings, some of the high level ahas that you guys discovered when you put this white paper together? And dig a little bit into it for me, please.
So we referenced it in our first conversation, and I mentioned that robots are an integral part of what's going into the marketplace. What we found in the industrial robot market, measuring a little bit different now, but overall industrial marketplace, that there is a growing need for this type of automation in all different food and beverage market segments, and that includes meat and poultry. So one of the major drivers for this is the need and the understanding that manufacturing wage costs are going up, and that the labor force is a challenge relative to the number of workers coming into manufacturing in comparison to what you've had with previous generations. So what we see is that the companies are taking a look and saying it's time to look at different types of automation. I was in a presentation about 3 weeks ago, and I thought that one interesting comment was it's not just a robot, we have to put one in. There is a push for that, but it's a recognition that it's a tool. And as a tool, the piece that you're looking for there is it the right tool? So it's being driven by this piece for more automation. It's being driven by the opportunity for more flexibility, or the need for more flexibility. We referenced in our first conversation about that diversity that the consumers are seeking in their food options. And then we also have this drive for the increasing wage costs and the labor pool.
So, you know, I've been on the magazine for almost 15 years now, and I've been in a lot of plants, and I came from the snack and bakery industry where there was a lot more automation even 15 years ago than there is in the meat and poultry industry. And I was always told that the reason the meat and poultry industry hadn't automated so much was the cost was pretty high for the yields that it produced, because every animal that comes across that line is an individual and completely different. And the technology hadn't caught up to where you could properly, cut up a chicken or cut up a turkey or a cattle or a cow or a sow or anything like that well enough to justify the cost. What's driving the automation now, other than the labor shortage? What's driving it? Has the cost come down, or has the technology gotten up, or is it a combination of both to where now meat and poultry processors can start to put these robots in?
Yeah, I think you've hit on the major points there, and the report also brings those out. A big piece of this is the improvement in the tool itself. The robots have become better able to handle more finely articulated moves. The second piece is that the manufacturing cost has decreased. It has over certainly that 10 to 15 year cycle that you referenced. The third part is that the sensors have improved. Not only are you able to take a look for a vision sensor, but the fine detail that you're able to get and the processing power of the vision sensors have gone up tremendously. And the other piece is the end-of-arm tooling. The end-of-arm tooling that you have and the degree to which that end-of-arm tooling can be customized for a particular application is pretty strong. You're right that each carcass that comes by is an individual piece. The vision sensors are allowing the mapping of that individual product piece to determine how best to produce the higher yield. So while the manufacturing cost of the robot, or the purchase cost of the robot, have gone down, the yield that you're able to get has improved with those combination of tools.
In this white paper, is there anything that talks about payback on the purchases, or long-term ROI on what these robots have brought to some of these meat and poultry processors versus trying to constantly source a human being to do this with the crazy turnover rates that a lot of these plants have?
Yeah, absolutely. In all cases, the report identifies and PMMI continues to advocate that you look at a total cost of ownership. It is not just the initial cost, it's the operating cost over a period of time. You may even look, when you're doing a comparison, one of your customers or readers of your magazine will take a look and say, the initial cost of option A and option B is X and Y. But what we really want to look at is the cost of option A and option B over a period of time, the expected life. Not only is that life increasing, but in addition to that, what are you going to be able to do in terms of the total cost of ownership of that product, meaning the operating cost over the expected life. When you're looking at that, now you can make an informed decision that option A or option B, one of them may have a higher initial cost, a capital outlay. The operating cost, though, over a longer period of time will provide this kind of payback and this kind of savings.
So what would you say are the biggest challenges now for a meat and poultry processor in terms of automating and in terms of putting in robots at this stage in the game? You know, did the white paper report on any of that, and how is the industry responding to some of those?
It did, Andy. I think the biggest piece, you've made the decision based on that TCO or total cost of ownership model. The next piece is really to be sure that your team is ready with a set of specific skills in order to have that go properly, right? So it's not just, hey, we've got a robot, we made our decision, the robot looks good. It's to work with the production team and be sure that the production team is aware of what it is that the objectives of the project are, why it is that you've chosen to go with the type of automation, in this case the industrial robot, and what it is that you expect to see over a period of time. What we found consistently, not just in the meat and poultry market, but in all markets, the skill set is improving, and therefore the wage set is improving for those workers that are focused on working with the newest automation. It provides greater efficiency on the line, it provides greater throughput on the line. It needs that particular skill set. And so another element of that is the education. It's the education of your current workforce, continuing education of your current workforce. It's also evaluating and understanding the expectations of the incoming workforce. PMMI, while it's not specifically listed in the white paper, PMMI has done a huge initiative through its members in order to help that education and workforce development. Education, those that are not yet in the workforce development, those that are in the workforce that need those continuing skills, enhancements, and refreshers in order to make it a win across the board.
Great. Tom, thanks so much for your time, and it's a great show. We're wrapping it up here on the last day, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about these two white papers. Thanks.
Andy, I always appreciate the time to speak with you, and I hope that your readers find benefit in what it is that we're doing here. Thanks.
Thank you.